For each Pajama Keeper, we will need a circle of fabric. A quarter of a template is included in the pattern. Okay, so you just need to fold this twice and cut on the outside circle for this. If you're using heavier fabric, one circle of fabric is enough. In this case, the fabric that I'm using is a little bit light, so I'm going to line this project. So I do have 2 circles cut out. Okay. And then this is for the front, where we will be appliquing the face. And then for the back, you need 2 semicircles, which will, when attached, one of them will overlap the other one, and the pajamas will be inserted here. It's like a little cushion. Okay, and in this case, since I'm using the same fabric, I've also cut 2 extra pieces to line the thing, just get it a little bit heavier, right? Then on top of that, you will need to cut out, for each of the Pajama Keepers, you need to cut out the ears. So you will need to just follow the instructions, and you will need 2 sets of ears, back and front. And in this case also, you will need to cut out those ears, so you will need to cut out the shapes with a piece of batting for each one. Okay? I am going to be using the cat design for the purposes of this tutorial. So the first thing that I've done here is I have traced the design. It's very light, so I don't know if the camera will capture, but there's the mouth, the whiskers, and I have put in my registration marks for the eyes. And I will be appliquing those different pieces. Here the okay. And then there's a bit of embroidery in this project also. Okay. For some of the Pajama Keepers, not in all the cases, but I think that the exception is the dog. But in the other cases, you will also be appliquing a piece onto the ears. So this would be, what's the wrong one here? In the case of the cat, it's going to be like this, and then the ears are going to be like this. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is, here you can simply use your sewing machine to run a stitch to embroider, or you can hand embroider any way you like. And also, as far as appliquing the pieces, you can use any technique that you like. In my case, I'm going to be using a fusible web. So the first thing that I'm going to do for the cat is I'm going to go ahead and first embroider the mouth, this line down the nose, and the whiskers. And after that, then I will applique the rest of the pieces onto the face. So I'll come back with that. Okay, so now with the embroidery all done, I'm going to go ahead and applique the nose and the eyes. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to be doing a fusible applique. And so for this, I'm using my pattern to guide me. It doesn't have to be completely exact, but you just use it as a guide. Okay, so let's go and applique that. So my machine broke down in the middle of this, and I've had to switch to an older machine that doesn't have a buttonhole stitch. And so the next step would be to applique the little piece onto the ears, which I've done with just a zigzag stitch on this machine. You can use a buttonhole stitch on your machine, or you can also hand applique, whatever method that you like. So that would be the next step. And then after that, what we want to do is prepare the ears, and what we want to do is use your lining fabric, or this is not a lining fabric, in this case it would be the same fabric. You're going to put the two sides together and place this on top of your piece of batting. Okay, and so along the edges. And in this case, you're going to leave the long edge open so that you can turn this inside out. Okay, so we're going to do that with both ears. Okay, so once this is done, you want to trim the batting as close as possible to the stitched line without cutting the fabric. So you're going to trim all of this, and then you can clip the curves too and turn the ear inside out. So we'll do this with both ears. Okay, so you will do this with both ears. In the case of the teddy bear too, that's the same process. Something I should note is that for the dog and the rabbit, they have much larger ears, and so this is the dog ear. What I've done is I have zigzagged a piece of a pipe cleaner onto the batting itself. This will allow being able to shape the ear after it's attached to the pillowcase. So that's something you might want to consider for both the dog and for the bunny. Okay, so now we're going to start to put the case together. So the first thing that we need to do is baste the ears onto the front piece. Because this is in a curve, the first thing that we'll have to do is to stay stitch this edge so that we can then sew this on. You might also want to consider doing that with the ears so that they fit better. So what I'm going to do is I've got my center mark right here, and I am going to measure 1.5 inches on each side. Which is the beginning placement for the ear. And then I'll just mark on each end of the ears just to give me an idea as to at least how far I do have to stay stitch, okay? So then I'm going to use 1/4 inch, same here, to stay stitch this whole edge, and then I will clip along the edge also so that I can then sew these, or baste, initially I'm just going to baste the ears onto the main piece. Okay, so ready to stitch these on. I'm going to use a basting stitch, a long stitch right now, and then we can attach the lining onto this one. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've sewn these on, and you can see that when you attach the lining or the back of the cushion, when you turn things around, then the ears will lie nice and flat. Okay? So the next step here is to sew the lining onto this if you are using a lining, and then all you need to do here is you would have to just sew around the whole edge, is leaving an opening to turn inside out. I'm going to skip this stitch because I actually want to put this all together with using a serger. So for that, we've got to prepare the back of the cushion, and you remember that you have cut out at least 2 back pieces. If you're using a heavier fabric, then what you can do is just hem along these edges. Or in my case, since I'm using this lighter fabric, I'm going to line it. So what I will do here is I am going to just sew 2 pieces together along this edge. I will sew these 2, and then just turn this around and top stitch on the other side. So I'm going to go do that now, and then we can put the whole case together. Here are the finished back, 2 pieces, and I've top stitched them. And so now we're going to start putting this all together. So what you want to do is make sure that if you're using the lining, that you've got the lining and the front of the case wrong sides together. And then we're going to place these. This is the only tricky part of this. What you want to do is put one of these on top of the other, and it's best to start with the top piece. This is where it's going to be a little bit tricky up here, but what I suggest is that you first align that, because when you turn this inside out, you want this to be up on top too. So we'll do this with the second piece. Okay, and then what I suggest here is that you use a lot of pins or clips. So I finished serging this. Let's turn this inside out and see how it turned out. Okay, and so all it needs is one quick little press, And there we go. It's a really cute little gift for a little one. If you like the little cat, then you might enjoy this little fellow too. The package with the patterns for the Pajama Keepers includes 4 different Pajama Keepers: the bunny, a bear, the cat, and the dog. And if you're interested in acquiring this pattern, you will find the link in the description box down below. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I thank you for watching.